while we were talking about like recent gear experiences, I also want to add a negative one.
Okay.
I think you might know where this is going to, but I recently had the chance to, so a month ago already, had the chance to get my hands on the Fender Tone Master Pro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you love that one, huh?
Huh? Yeah.
You love that one.
It's and this is not a complete like bad experience, like, or negative experience kind of thing. But so if I look at the pros, the interaction with the unit is the best I've come across. So when we're talking about modeling, we're talking about these the possibility to use tons of amps and tons of pedals and put that into a grid and then, you know, like come up with crazy routings and whatnot. The interaction is amazing because you have the touch screen, you have like some of these like the foot switches are actually controls as well. So you don't even need to stay with the touch screen. You just say this, and this, and then you do the rest as if you would with your amp or whatever you're used to. You also have an editor for people who like to use editors. You can use an editor, but then on the other end is if you want to compete, because this thing comes in at $1,900 US or 1,900 or 1,899 euros. That's a lot of money, and it's more expensive than the Quad Cortex, which has been kind of leading the pack as of lately. It is also more. No, it's actually it's less expensive than what Fractal has in comparison. So I think the competition there would be the FM9 or the FM9 Turbo, which is like over $2,000. So it's really an expensive thing. And then they only have a handful of amps in there. And all the Fender amps, for example, are pretty much the same amp, but with different speaker configurations. It's all like 65 or like mid-60s blackface amps. And then they have the Super and they have the Princeton and whatnot. But essentially all these have like identical preamps. And then maybe like little differences with the power amp. And they have like different power amp like sizes. So the twin amp has 100 watt and then they have different speaker setups. But that's it. Like I'm missing so many. So if you go to market with a thing that costs 1,900, you better have a lot of things under the hood, you know? So that was one thing that I really didn't like. And there are so many bugs with these things. And I think we round about that time, we talked about this like offline, where it's like, I feel like a lot of these things, I feel like a total beta tester. You know, I'm used to being a beta tester with my stupid phone. You know, you buy a phone, and it doesn't even matter if it's an iPhone or a Samsung or what your preference is. And you're already a beta tester because they come up with these things and they're buggy as hell, and then they say like, oh, with the new update, blah 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 blah. And then you said, but we're also going to give you, like new features with the new update. And I feel like it's a lot easier to do that on the digital side of things, but it also sucks at the same time to feel like I'm a beta tester and somebody in the actual beta testing team didn't do their job, and that's why now I have to do it, and I have to complain until my fingers bleed, like typing the keyboards, like. And now over a month, like 1.5 months have passed, and I'm looking at Fender's support website, and no update yet.
Oh god,
no update for all the. I'm going to link to that video in the description if you guys want to watch it. It's a pretty long, so it might be the longest video I ever did, but there are so many things that bothered me about this, and it also seems like it doesn't really perform as well in sales as Fender hoped it would.
Yeah, it's it's weird because you know how all of a sudden on YouTube you have like this mass, like all these videos coming out from all the YouTube channels, right? And they're all like positive reviews. There's not really anyone saying anything negative, and I think that's where your video is different, because you purchased this this one with your own money, so that way you can be way more critical of what it is and what it isn't. So for someone like me, like I have a Kemper, I have the HX Stomp, I have a few other things, right? But when I saw the one from Fender, I was wondering, like, are they going to have a lot of variety, or are they just going to stick to like the Fender house brand stuff and just keep that in there? And it seems that's what they did. Maybe they were trying to play it safe on the whole copyright thing, so they don't have like Mesa Boogie and a whole bunch of
they have
other amps. Are they in there too?
They're the some of the like the usual suspects with different names are in there.
Okay.
Like there's a rectifier in there. There's a Mark III Plus, I would believe, in there.
Okay.
There's called the Marksman. And then there's obviously a few British ambassadors in there. And that's it. That's essentially it. So you have like essentially one Fender amp with different speaker configurations. Then you have another one that's like there's the they put a Vibro King in there, and I know the Vibro King very well. A friend of mine has one. It's an amazing sounding amp, and the one that's in there doesn't sound like it at all, which was weird to me. It's one of their like iconic amplifiers. And then the other thing, the thing that kind of boggled me, the routing options are like fixed patterns. So like if you want to go parallel, so you have like 8 to 10 options for what the routing looks like, and you have to stick to that. And you can't like just throw things around. Like if you look at what Fractal does, you have like essentially a grid with 4 kind of lines, and then you can throw shit everywhere. And you can't do that here. So you're limited to a certain routing, and you can't divert from that routing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's limiting because most people like to experiment with routing, especially in the digital realm. It's stuff you can't do. Like if I wanted to put a compressor between a head and a cab of a guitar, I can't really do that in the real world.
No.
But in the digital realm, you can experiment with that, right?
Yes.
Or you could even put your delay and reverb after the amp. Like I can do that in HX Stomp, no problem, right?
Yeah.
But if they don't allow for that, then they're kind of limiting what people can actually do. And it makes you wonder, if you're going to put out a product that's competitive, at least give some flexibility to the creative minds so that they can do whatever the hell they want with it. I mean, within reason, but something like that makes sense. If I can do it with, the little HX Stomp, and I can just put the reverb block or the compressor block after my amp or between the amp and the cab, you should have that in there too, not limit the person to whatever routing you think people are going to use.
Especially if you're saying that the DSPs you're using are way more powerful than the one the competition uses, which is essentially what they're saying. They said that the I don't know, the computing in this thing is way more advanced, blah blah blah. But then you're limiting things. I kind of think I know why they did it. They wanted to keep the preset change as seamless as possible, and you can only do that if you have some sort of a predictable implementation of things. So if all the components exactly know what they're doing, then you can say, okay, the switching is seamless, which it is not with some of the competitors actually. So on a Fractal FM9, if you switch a preset, there's always this like little gap between, like this little gap of silence, like a quarter of a second or half a second, I don't know, because the unit needs some time to actually process the preset change, which is why within like the Fractal sort of ecosystem, they switched to scenes where you can just put in all the stuff into one preset and you just switch things on and off, like blocks, you switch them on and off. And this way you create a scene and there's no sound gap.